Hello everyone. At the time of this video being published, the form for ban voting is up on the website for October of 2023. Let's take some time to cover the cards that are up for ban voting for next month, as well as why those cards are on this list. Let's start by giving honorable mention to Lion's Eye Diamond, which didn't quite make this list this time around. The reason why we haven't included Lion's Eye Diamond on the list this time around is because an overwhelming 2/3 of the decks that included Lion's Eye Diamond also included Shadowgrange Arcfiend. This means that Shadowgrange Arcfiend played a huge role in affecting how popular Lion's Eye Diamond was, as well as its average score. For that reason, Shadowgrange Arcfiend is on this list, both because it had a stellar performance on its own, but also to give Lion's Eye Diamond some room to breathe so we can better analyze how effective the card is without Shadowgrange Arcfiend boosting its win rate and popularity. To be a little more specific with how well Shadowgrange Arcfiend performed, it achieved an average score of 65% and had a meta share of 8.62%. If you watched September's meta snapshot, you would also know that Shadowgrange Arcfiend made it to the top of multiple pods. Its spot on this list is well earned. The next card I'd like to talk about is Caracas, which has been included on this list. Before we jump in further, I do want to preface this by saying that the ban vote list is determined overwhelmingly by the community disposition as well as feedback from our patrons. The reason I am stressing this is because Caracas is an example of one of the rare occasions that the community's opinion differs quite a bit from my own. Although I recognize that Caracas was the most popular card this month at 19.76%, and I see the possibility that Caracas prevents otherwise innocuous legendary creatures from seeing play in the format, Caracas very much underperformed this month with an average score of 47%. That being said, I did want to include Caracas on this list to respect the wishes of the community, as well as to give folks the opportunity to vote for Caracas simply to promote meta diversity as opposed to specifically for a balance reason. The next card on our list is very much related to Caracas, which is Leyline of Singularity. Notably, roughly 1/4 of Caracas decks were decks that were also playing Leyline of Singularity, and Leyline of Singularity was never played without being accompanied by Caracas. Leyline of Singularity combined with Caracas has been a popular and effective strategy in this format for some time now. It was the 6th most popular card this month at a 5.15% meta share, and it also had a respectable win rate of 56% average score. I think I should also mention here that because Leyline of Singularity performed reasonably well with Caracas, Caracas's win rate is actually somewhat inflated beyond what it would be ordinarily without Leyline of Singularity in the equation. So not only did Caracas have a negative win rate this month, but it would have an even lower win rate if it weren't for the fact that it could rely on the effective combination with Leyline of Singularity. I think it's fairly obvious where I stand on these two cards right now, but I did want them both to be in the list so that people could use their votes to express their own opinions. Next, we have a far less controversial card, which is Mind Swords. As mentioned in the previous video, Mind Swords' win rate was masked by the fact that a couple players didn't read the card correctly and submitted decks that didn't function the way they ought to. So while I talk about Mind Swords, I'm going to show you the win rates of the 2 decks that actually did function that got submitted during September. For many players, the Mind Sword decks were very frustrating to try to play around. There are very few options for players in terms of counterplay, especially when the Mind Swords deck takes the first turn of the game. For me, the real nail in the coffin for Mind Swords in terms of it being problematic is that it exiles cards instead of them being discarded. This shuts off some of the ordinary counterplay that players would have available to them, such as including Wiltleaf Liege in their deck. And I think it is fair to mention here that there are still going to be plenty of other viable hand attack methods for players to tap into even if Mind Swords goes away. The final card on the list for this month is Boseiju Who Endures. Boseiju Who Endures had a 3.39% popularity and a whopping 70% win rate. Not only did Boseiju put up an impressive performance this month, with 2 Boseiju decks coming first in their respective pods, but Boseiju also remains one of the few cards in the format that can destroy non-basic lands with relatively little effort, while still maintaining the versatility needed for the card to remain relevant in matches even when the opponent is not playing any non-basic lands. That wraps up our whole list. I do want to mention here that there were many other cards that the community was interested in seeing included on this list for this month, but given that there weren't that many major outliers in terms of performance this time around, I think it is best to keep this list relatively minimal so that we can see the meta evolve gradually rather than putting a large number of cards up for bans all at once. To participate in ban voting, you will need to visit the website linked in the description of the video and go to the Participate tab. The vote will run until September 23rd, and I will update you shortly thereafter. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.